Are you ready to uncover the gritty and raw truth behind the glamorous image of the Wild West? Beneath the glorified tales of fearless cowboys and notorious outlaws lies a story darker and more complex than you could ever imagine. The Old West was a land soaked in violence, hardship, and forgotten tragedies, where every step forward was fraught with danger, and survival was a constant battle. In this journey, we will explore 17 unsettling facts that peel away the myth and reveal the untold realities of the Wild West. From blood-soaked saloons to deadly showdowns, and from hidden treasures to strange legends, these stories will challenge everything you thought you knew about the frontier. You'll meet some of the most iconic figures in the West, heroes and villains alike, who lived and died by the gun. But first, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's forgotten corners. Fact number 17, dangerous drinks. Imagine walking into a dimly lit saloon, the stench of sweat and dust mixing with the sharp aroma of alcohol. On the bar, bottles of 40 rods, tarantula juice, and lightning line the shelves. These names sound almost fun, but these drinks were anything but safe. In fact, they were often filled with dangerous substances like strychnine, turpentine, and tobacco oil. That's right, people in the Wild West regularly consumed poison in their whiskey. The alcohol was so strong that it often took a second shot just to wash down the first. If you didn't get sick immediately, you'd soon find yourself knocked out cold, only to wake up and do it all over again the next day. There were no regulations back then. Saloon owners mixed whatever they had on hand, and people drank it because they didn't have much choice. Supplies were scarce, towns were miles apart, and survival sometimes meant taking risks. But these Wild West drinks weren't the smooth spirits we enjoy today. They were raw, dangerous, and could knock you off your feet. The frontier was rough, and so was the whiskey. Fact number 16, gunfights. You've heard of the famous gunfight at the OK Corral, but it didn't exactly go down as Hollywood tells it. For starters, the fight didn't even happen at the OK Corral. It took place near the corner of 3rd and Fremont Streets in Tombstone, Arizona, behind the corral. And while the fight involved legendary figures like Wyatt Earp, his brothers, and their friend Doc Holliday, it lasted a mere 30 seconds. In that half minute, 3 cowboys lost their lives, and 3 of the lawmen were wounded. The shootout was quick, brutal, and has become one of the most iconic moments of the Wild West. But it wasn't just a random skirmish. It was a power struggle between the lawmen trying to protect Tombstone and the outlaw cowboys bent on causing chaos. Despite its brevity, the gunfight cemented itself in history as a symbol of the lawlessness and violence of the time. Fact number 15, giant cannibals. Long before the West was settled by European Americans, stories circulated about terrifying giants with red hair who stalked the high deserts of what is now Nevada. These weren't ordinary giants. They were said to be cannibals, hunting people for food. The Northern Paiute tribe passed down tales of these creatures, known as the Ka, who had developed a taste for human flesh after consuming a mysterious water plant that gave them their fiery red hair. The Paiute people were determined to rid their lands of these monsters. According to Paiute activist Sarah Winnemucca Hopkins, the tribe eventually lured the Ka into a deep cave and set fire to the entrance, trapping them inside. And just like that, the reign of terror from the cannibalistic giants was over. But whether these stories are rooted in fact or legend, they paint a vivid picture of the fears and mysteries that haunted the Wild West long before the arrival of settlers. Fact number 14, hidden gold. The Wild West wasn't just about cowboys and outlaws. It was also about gold, lots of gold. During the gold and silver rushes, thousands of people ventured west in hopes of striking it rich. While most of them ended up broke and disillusioned, the few who did find gold sparked endless tales of hidden mines and lost treasures. These stories captivated the imaginations of treasure hunters, who believed that fortunes were still buried in the hills, waiting to be uncovered. Some said that miners had hidden their riches to protect them from thieves, while others spoke of entire mines lost to time. Even today, treasure hunters search the deserts and mountains, hoping to stumble upon a hidden fortune. The legends of the Wild West may be full of exaggeration, but one thing's for sure: gold fever gripped the frontier, and its allure still lingers. Fact number 13. Real cowboy hats. Think of a cowboy, and you probably picture a rugged figure in a wide-brimmed 10-gallon hat. But in reality, cowboys in the 19th century wore much more practical headgear. The iconic 10-gallon hat didn't become popular until the 1920s, thanks to Hollywood. Real cowboys wore smaller hats, like the Boss of the Plains, designed by John Stetson. Made from waterproof fur, it was sturdy and functional, providing shelter from both rain and sun. Cowboys could even flip it over and use it to carry water for their horses. It wasn't just about style in the Old West. It was about survival. Fact number 12. The Crash at Crush. In 1896, a railroad executive named William Crush had a wild idea. To promote the Missouri, Kansas, and Texas Railroad, he organized a massive event in Texas, drawing over 40,000 spectators to witness a spectacle: two full-sized locomotives hurtling towards each other at full speed. The collision was meant to be a dramatic demonstration of the railroad's power, but it quickly turned deadly. The impact caused an explosion that killed 2 people and injured hundreds more. Despite the tragedy, the event was considered a success in terms of publicity, and the site became known as Crush, Texas. However, Crush was fired after the accident, proving that even in the Wild West, ambition could have deadly consequences. Fact number 11. Civil War in the West. When we think of the Civil War, we often imagine battles fought in the East. But one of the key battles took place far from the well-known theaters of war, in New Mexico. Confederate General Henry Hopkins Sibley had a plan to seize Colorado's gold and use it to fund the rebel cause. But Union forces, aided by local ranchers who knew the land, managed to stop him. In what is sometimes called the Gettysburg of the West, Union troops destroyed the Confederate supply line, forcing them to retreat to Texas. The battle at Glorieta Pass was a turning point in the West and ensured that the Confederacy's reach would never extend beyond Texas. Fact number 10. Chewing tobacco. In the dusty, dry heat of the frontier, chewing tobacco was a common habit among cowboys and pioneers. It wasn't just a vice. It served a practical purpose. The act of chewing produced saliva, which helped keep mouths moist in the dry, arid environment. While the habit was far from glamorous, it was a simple solution to a constant problem. Are you prepared to have your entire perspective on the Wild West turned upside down? Beneath the familiar legends of heroic cowboys and infamous outlaws, there's a much darker, more complex history waiting to be uncovered. The Wild West, romanticized in books and films, was a harsh and unforgiving place, marked by violence, loss, and countless untold stories that have faded into the past. In this deep dive, we'll explore 17 chilling facts that reveal the raw truth about the Old West, stories that challenge everything you thought you knew. Get ready to meet the real figures who lived and died by the gun, and uncover the tragic events and forgotten realities that shaped this brutal era. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing historical content. Fact number 9. Lack of toilet paper. Before the invention of toilet paper in the mid-1800s, life on the frontier meant improvising. People used leaves, corn cobs, and grass to clean themselves after using outdoor toilets, which were little more than holes in the ground. These outdoor facilities were often filthy and crawling with insects, making for a deeply unpleasant experience. When toilet paper finally became available, it was a game changer for people on the frontier, improving hygiene and comfort. Fact number 8. Murdered outlaw displayed in carnival. Elmer McCurdy's story is one of the strangest of the Old West. After a botched train robbery in 1911, McCurdy was shot and killed by law enforcement. His body was mummified and sold to a carnival, where it became a sideshow attraction. For decades, McCurdy's body traveled from one attraction to another, eventually ending up in a funhouse in California. It wasn't until the 1970s that a film crew discovered the body, and McCurdy was finally given a proper burial over 60 years after his death. Fact number 7. Photo shoots of dead outlaws. In the 19th century, photography was a new and exciting way to capture history, and this extended to outlaws. When notorious criminals were killed, law enforcement would often take photos of their bodies as proof that they had been brought to justice. These grim photo shoots became a way to both document the deaths of outlaws and send a warning to others that crime didn't pay. Fact number 6. The town full of widows. In Nevada, the town of Delamar earned the nickname the Widowmaker because of the deadly conditions in its mines. The mills in Delamar released toxic silica dust, which caused a deadly lung disease that killed many of the town's miners. At its height, Delamar was home to over 400 widows, a testament to the harsh realities of life in the mining towns of the Wild West. Fact number 5. The planned extinction of buffalo. In the early 1800s, millions of bison roamed the American plains. By the early 1900s, their numbers had dwindled to less than 1,000, largely due to a systematic campaign by the U.S. government to exterminate the bison population. The goal was simple. By killing the buffalo, the government hoped to deprive Native Americans of their primary food source, making it easier to force them onto reservations. Thankfully, conservation efforts have helped bring bison back from the brink of extinction, but their numbers are still a fraction of what they once were. Fact number 4. Extreme violence. The Wild West was a dangerous place, and towns like Dodge City, Kansas, became infamous for their violence. At its peak, Dodge City had a murder rate of 165 per 100,000 people, higher than even the most dangerous cities in the world today. Life on the frontier was brutal, and death could come swiftly, whether by gunfight, disease, or accident. Fact number 3. Lack of delicious food. Life on the frontier wasn't just dangerous, it was also flavorless. Meals were often simple and unappetizing, with cowboys surviving on little more than canned beans, hard biscuits, and dried meat. Fresh food was hard to come by, and the limited variety meant that meals were repetitive and bland. Fact number 2. Notorious outlaws. John Wesley Hardin was one of the most infamous outlaws of the Old West. By the age of 15, Hardin had already killed several men, and over the course of his life, he claimed to have killed 44 people. Whether or not that number is accurate, Hardin's violent streak made him a feared figure throughout Texas, and his story has become a central part of the legend of the Wild West. Fact number 1. Family of serial killers. The Bender family, known as the Bloody Benders, were German immigrants who settled in Kansas in the early 1870s. They ran an inn where they murdered at least 11 people, burying their bodies in their orchard. The Benders disappeared before they could be brought to justice, leaving behind a grisly legacy as one of the West's most notorious families. And with that, we've come to the end of our journey into the dark and mysterious history of the Wild West. We've peeled back the layers of myth and legend to reveal the true stories of danger, survival, and tragedy that defined this era. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden tales from history.